I'm Dustin Abbott, and I'm here today to start a new series that's going to be called What Caught My Eye. And I know that a number of you out there, you follow me because of my gear reviews, and so I'm going to continue to incorporate an element of kind of letting you know as we look at pictures that I've taken of what equipment that I chose for that setting, but then also a little bit of a look at both photography technique and how that gear can be helpful there, and also a little bit of processing tools as well. And so I hope that this series will be beneficial, just little short segments for real photographers, and maybe pick up some tips that can help you and, you know, kind of give you a look into how my mind works as a photographer when I'm either looking to review or just to go out and to shoot for the fun of it. And so today's episode is actually going to be a group of images that I took on November the 15th. And so to give you the backstory, just everyday life. You know, I know that photography seems like it should always be this glamorous, going on safari, but here's the very exciting story. My car needed to have an oil change and to rotate on from my summer tires to my winter tires. And so I dropped it off at the dealership, and rather than waiting around or getting a ride home, instead I chose to walk home. And so I walked, particularly in a route I knew that would take me by some potentially interesting photography subjects. And so it was about a little over 6 kilometer, about 4-mile walk. And so anyway, I chose to instead of taking the more direct route, I chose the road less traveled. And so kind of went kind of in a back route. So anyway, I went along with me. I was in the process of reviewing this particular strap. And this is from the manufacturer Peak Design. This is their Summit Edition. And so I wanted something that I could carry a camera on, in this case just in a sling way. And so I'm not going to do the review of this now, but you can watch for it. It will be coming very shortly. And so I carried using this strap in a sling position, and I brought along just one camera and lens, 5D Mark IV. And in this case, rather than the lens that I was reviewing, I brought along my trusty Tamron 45mm f1.8 VC. I find myself reaching for this lens a lot, not because it's a perfect lens. It doesn't focus quite as fast as what I would like it to. It has a little more chromatic aberration than what I would like, but number one, I really like the focal length, 45 millimeters. I know it seems like an odd focal length, at least that was my reaction to it, but it just seems to work for a lot of things as a event or walk around lens. Just seems to be a good focal length. It's very sharp from f1.8. I've got it calibrated using the Tamron tap-in console, and so it's extremely accurate for me in focusing, and so I can rely on it for that. But I also like it a lot, not just because of the focal length, not just because it has an image stabilizer, which is always good with higher megapixel bodies. And the 5D Mark IV that I shot it on, there's obviously more high resolution bodies than that, but still 30.6 megapixels is enough that having an image stabilizer helps. But what I also really like about this lens, which is why I end up reaching for it a lot, is the fact that it allows me to focus down very closely and has a very good maximum magnification or reproduction ratio. And so that means its versatility. I can get very close and shoot kind of macro type shots with very great quality, very nice bokeh rendering, and very nice sharpness on my subject. I can also step back and I can shoot landscape shots. And so here's the thing, before I got to a place where I shot the images I'm going to share, I carried the combination doing basically nothing with it. I took one other shot, but I basically carried this combination for about 4 kilometers, 2.5 miles before I did anything with it. But I got some images that I felt made it very worthwhile. And it was a day where it was kind of misty and foggy, and so light wasn't necessarily fantastic, but it did mean that the water was very still, and while a lot of the leaves were down, I found that I got some great kind of symmetrical images by getting a reflection in the water. And so a lot of these are kind of variations along the same theme, but let's take a look at them. In this case, I shot, as I like to do, I shot a landscape image in a portrait orientation. The reason why I like this is because it allowed me to use a lot of negative space here in this image, and so I have a big blank area, which becomes very handy, by the way, if you shoot images that might possibly be used in magazines or might be used in advertising in any way, because if you fill everything with detail, it makes an image much harder to use in that kind of application. So this is the kind of image that can be used in a lot of different settings. The second image is just shows you what the out of camera result was, and you know, almost everything is dead, no bright colors, but I really liked kind of the warm setting of these dried grasses that I found kind of walking along the shoreline of the river, and against kind of a background of a similar color. And so rather than looking for a contrast color, I rather liked the kind of warming of the whole effect. So as I processed, I kind of enhanced that a little bit further, softening things up, raising up the shadows, and I have a bunch of different custom-made onlays that I have produced and so I added in the flare here to kind of further give it a look that I liked. And yes, at some point when I get around to it, I'm going to create a package of the various weather and environmental overlays that I've got, along with kind of flare type overlays. I've developed a lot of these different kind of things for my own use, and at some point I'll package them up and so that you can purchase them for yourself. Just, it's on my to-do list. Anyway, this resulting image that I got was one that proved to be very popular at all social media sharing sites and has been very, very effective for me. So beyond that, I shot a kind of shallow depth of field landscape image, and I just kind of processed for the mood of things that were there. And so just kind of different, rather than everything being in focus, it's focused on those same kind of dried grasses, but with the bigger scene in mind. This is probably one of my favorite images of the group. I shot here. I tend to shoot a little bit underexposed with the 5D Mark IV for the simple reason that its shadow recovery is fantastic. And that way I make sure that I have plenty of latitude in the highlights. And so in this case, I shot to where I needed to raise shadows to expose all of the detail there on the shore. As you get later in the year, like I'm shooting in now, there's less natural color in the world, and so it's the time for me that I'm not afraid to push saturation a little bit higher and vibrance in images a little bit higher. And in this case, I got a result that I'm really, really pleased with. I haven't shared this image yet on social media, but I'm looking forward to doing so because I just like the symmetry. Instead of seeing leaves and a lot of color, you're able to focus on one band of color and then also just the form of nature, and it's very symmetrical. And then one final image is just I'm playing around with developing some different presets in Lightroom. Sometimes I don't want to go through the whole Photoshop thing, and so this is one that I developed to where it just kind of gives a soft faded kind of look, but then also to adding in some kind of a golden hour warmth to the image. And so this is an alternate kind of look that I liked as well. And so all of these images were really taken within about probably 10 minutes of each other, and that really was the highlight of my day in that particular hike, is just getting those images. So those are the tools that I used, both for capture and then also for carrying and then also for processing. And that's what caught my eye on November the 15th. I hope this helps you out in some way, and I'll throw linkage down below to the various tools that I used as a part of this process, and certainly feel free to address any questions down in the comments below. If you haven't already, please click that subscribe button. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.